So now I'm officially recording and getting started here. I just wanted to recap on the things that essentially I'll be talking about. And I would like to say that if this gets cut out or something happens with the internet, you'll be able to go and watch the recording and maybe fill in the gaps if it does cut out at all. But this webinar, I want to be talking a little bit about hormone disruptors that could be affecting your weight. A lot of women especially, and men, but I find this in women a lot, have hormonal imbalances, and they tend to hold specific weight around the waist, around the bum, sometimes, on the triceps of the arms, and in different places that are really hard to lose fat. And for some reason, you're exercising, you're eating healthy, you're cleansing, you're doing all these things, but for some reason, this weight doesn't come off. And I really think a major contributing factor is hormone imbalances. And I want to talk about what are some of the things that are disrupting our hormones. And then I want to talk about specific things we can do to really balance our hormones so that excess and hard to lose fat just starts to fall off. We're going to talk about common types of chemicals in the environment, how to identify different carcinogens and things that, anything that's carcinogenic, we don't want to be putting it in our body, and we don't want it on our body. And especially we don't want to be putting these things on our body multiple times per day and keeping them there. So those are the basic things that we're going to discuss. So just jumping right into it, there's some basic chemicals that they put in a lot of things. One is called sodium lauryl sulfate, and sometimes they'll change the name to sodium laureth sulfate or offshoots of this word, but it's essentially taking things down to a level that becomes carcinogenic, and this is what creates the foaming action in a lot of these products. Like when you're using shampoo and it's got all that foamy stuff, this is the same ingredient. If you were to go into an auto shop and get engine degreaser, literally a commercial chemical that you spray on a motor to get rid of grease, the number one ingredient is sodium lauryl sulfate. And that's the same chemical that companies are using up to 30% or more in their shampoo and in these other body washes and things that people are using as a foaming agent. Now, it's been known to cause toxicity within the body for a long time, and there's a regulatory advisory board that actually advises that shampoo companies and others only use 5% or less of sodium lauryl sulfate. But beyond the recommendations, they've taken shampoos and body washes and all kinds of different products from different companies, and they'll do an analysis and they find upwards of 20, 30, and even 40% sodium lauryl sulfate, which over time and distance of putting this on your head and putting it on your body could lead to an accumulation of toxicities within the body. So it's something to be aware of. And there's going to be a few names that I put out here that I want you guys just to start looking at your products and becoming aware of. And essentially, you can find a health food shop or somewhere that offers products that are, quality, but eventually you'll probably get to the point of really finding things that are nearly edible. And we have an entire line of personal care products coming out very soon. They're actually done. We're just getting the labeling and everything down. Over the next coming weeks, we'll be offering this stuff to the public so that you can literally buy one box of all your personal care products, give them all a go. I'm sure most of them you'll absolutely love. Sometimes, with shampoo, people have different forms of hair. Some have greasy hair, some have dry hair, and different things. So you may really like it, you may not. But essentially, it's about finding one that works for you. And my motto is, if you can't eat it, then don't put it on your body. Because our skin is cytophylactic, meaning it allows things in, it allows things out. It's quite obvious that, these days smokers actually can get a patch called a nicotine patch. And that nicotine patch will slowly release nicotine into the blood to, kind of get you to stop smoking because you're getting your hit of nicotine without smoking. So what I'm saying here is if you can put a patch on your arm that puts things directly into your bloodstream, it's quite obvious that anything we put on our skin is having an effect internally as well. In fact, there was a recent video, and I could post it for you guys if you ask anywhere on my Facebook page, called Body Pollution. And I believe it was, CNN, or it was one of these news agencies that came out and they had taken about 10 people off the streets in New York City, just random people, and they tested their blood and urine. They found over 55 chemical contaminants known to cause cancer. And they were interviewing one of these ladies, little old woman, probably nearly 60 years old, and she's just like, I can't believe, how do I have 55 chemical contaminants in my little body? And then they started looking at the chemicals and what they were and where they came from, and they started to identify these are the types of things in shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, toothpaste, perfumes, pesticides and things that are essentially in different sorts of things, nitrates, all kinds of stuff. But a lot of it was coming from personal care items and the things that people put on their bodies every day. Now, there's one thing I want to specifically talk about, and this is something that women put inside their bodies every month. And this is, tampons. Tampons, it's a well-known fat, contain dioxin, which is a carcinogen. That means that it's associated to causing cancer. It's a toxic to the immune system and the reproductive system. So women are putting something known to be toxic to the reproductive system in their vagina every single month. It's also been linked to endometriosis, which is a very painful condition, meaning you'll have painful periods, you'll bleed more. And sometimes I wonder if these companies are putting in chemicals to cause you to actually use more of their product. And what I mean by that is if a tampon contains very specific chemicals that cause you to bleed more and have more issues, then you're going to use more of them. So it's highly important to only use cotton-based, no additive tampons. And this one, the reason I bring it up, because this one hits at home big time for me. And my wife was diagnosed about 6 years ago with cervical cancer. And she lived in Sydney, and she went into a hospital because she was having, some issues. And they did a test, and they said, you have cervical cancer, and we need to remove your entire uterus immediately. And I don't know if you can imagine, but going into a hospital and then having a doctor say, if you don't let us remove your uterus right away, you could have really bad cancer and die. And this is before I even knew my wife. You know what she did? She left the hospital and she moved out of the country. She said, you know what? I don't even want to deal with this. I'm leaving. She moved to New Zealand, and she lived in New Zealand for a while. She just totally ignored it, which I say congratulations. I wouldn't normally recommend ignoring something like that. I'd recommend really doing something about it. But she's like, look, whatever, I can't deal with this. Maybe she didn't believe it. I don't know. But she moved to New Zealand. And after a while of living there, she moved to the United States, and then we met. And obviously after we met, we had conversations, and I said, look, maybe we should go do a fast together. We went up to some hot springs, and we did a water fast together. Obviously she became vegetarian because of my beliefs and because the foods that we were eating tasted really good, and it wasn't a problem. I remember when we first got together, she said, well, look, I don't really like beef and chicken and pork and that stuff anyway, but I really love sushi. I don't think I can give up raw fish. And I know that, raw fish especially is one of the best ways to get a parasite, contract parasites, which can lead to all kinds of things. It also contains a lot of mercury, which is not good, highly toxic. And so, in general, it's just not something I recommend. And so I said, well, look, why don't you come out to the sushi restaurant with me? I'll take you to a really nice sushi restaurant. You let me order and just see how it goes. We went into this place and we ordered avocado rolls and tempura vegetable and California rolls and vegetable sushi and had, the wasabi and soy sauce and all these other things. And we had ourselves some sake wine, had a great time. And when we left, she was just like, oh my God, that was one of the best sushi meals I've ever had. And she's like, I'm actually just really addicted to the soy sauce and wasabi. That's it. She said at that point, she's like, oh my God, that was so amazing. I don't need to eat fish. I'm done. She's like, okay, cool. I'm completely vegetarian. So long story short, or short story long, she basically became vegetarian. She did some detoxing and we did some fasting. And, a few laters, she was pregnant. We have this beautiful baby. Her name's Sienna. She's my gorgeous daughter. And I can't imagine my life without this beautiful woman and my beautiful daughter in my life. And if she had gone down the path of having her uterus removed, obviously we wouldn't have this opportunity. So I think it's really important to be clear about what we're putting on our bodies and what we're putting inside of our bodies, especially for ladies every month. You know, tampons, many women have heard of toxic shock syndrome, a rare bacterial infection that can lead to potential fatal drop in blood pressure. Women have literally just died. It's called toxic shock syndrome. And a lot of times women will pass out, be taken to the hospital. They're doing all kinds of things with life support and trying to figure it out. And luckily, in some cases, some doctors are aware of this, and they'll be like, quickly remove the tampon, you know, and do a douche. And that actually is the only thing that reverses the situation. So, you know, this is just crazy. You know, the fact that that even exists and women die from this process of using tampons, it should be absolutely outlawed to use any of these chemicals in these tampons. But it's not. And I can't tell you why. But, you know, these things are still allowed to be sold. So, you know, what my wife uses, and she loves it and it works really well, she uses something called a moon cup. I couldn't tell you anything about how to apply this or use it or if it's comfortable. But she uses it and loves it, and I know a lot of other women that are using it, and I would highly recommend using a moon cup when it's that time of the month, or finding just natural cotton-based tampons or pads or whatever you need to use, ladies, because these things can be highly toxic. Moving on, there's lots of other chemicals, you know, that we're using and that can affect us. You know, there's a lot of children that develop psoriasis and skin conditions just from the toxic levels of carcinogens and different things that are in your laundry detergent. You know, and somebody's child has a rash, they're not going to think about, you know, what kind of laundry detergent they're using typically, but things like Tide and Whisk and all these things contain some pretty interesting concoctions of endocrine disruptors, neurotoxins, potent cancer-causing chemicals, and all these sorts of things. So something really to think about. We use something called bio soap, and it's basically a natural form, a truly natural, even though a lot of these things say natural, they're not actually natural. But bio soap's an organic form of making soap. And so I'd look into different things. There's soap nuts, which are actually grow on a tree that you can clean and do your laundry with. You could literally make your own with bicarbonate of soda and maybe some essential oils. You know, bicarbonate of soda does some really amazing stuff for cleansing. Or look into a company that sells just a really quality bicarbonate of soda base and maybe with some other natural ingredients for cleaning your laundry. And, you know, I can't use any of that stuff. Anytime anybody uses any of these chemical bases, I can smell it. They walk by me and I can smell it on their clothes. And living here in Bali, it's shocking the amount of this stuff that they use. When I first moved here, we'd send our clothes to the laundry and they'd come back and I couldn't even put the clothes on. I'd be like, look, we've got to send this back and give them some bio soap and have them wash it again just because of the amount of chemicals that were in my clothes. I couldn't even wear them. The smell was just way too much. So going back to some of these other items that I want to talk about, one of them is antibacterials. The FDA recently noted antibacterial products are no more effective than soap and water and could be dangerous. So the reality is there's no actual research showing that antibacterials do any better at cleaning anything than just soap and water. So go back to just soap and water. And essentially beyond that, they've got studies that show that antibacterials actually can cause bacteria to become antibiotic resistant. And here's just a few things about antibacterial soaps are no more effective than conventional soap. Number 2, antibacterial soaps have the potential to create antibiotic resistant bacteria. Okay, this thing called triclosan. There's more information on that. These soaps act as endocrine disruptors. A number of studies have found that rats, frogs, and other animals Triclosan appears to interfere with the body's regulation of thyroid hormone. And I can tell you that when I do iridology and sclerology, I would say 80 to 90% of people have thyroid toxicity or some type of thyroid problem. And so this could be a contributing factor. And this stuff is disgusting. You know, I used to go to Subway a long time ago, and I remember I'd go to Subway and they used to wear gloves, and then they stopped wearing gloves, and they would just put a massive dollop of this antibacterial gel on their hands and wipe their hands, and then they would go to make my sandwich. And I'd be like, excuse me, can you please wash your hands before you make my sandwich and wash that crap off of there? And they're like, oh, no, don't worry, I just used antibacterial soap. And I was like, okay, but I don't want to eat your antibacterial soap. And the look I got from some of these girls were like, they were shocked. They were like, oh, I never thought about that. I've actually just been putting massive amounts of this antibacterial soap in my hands, and then I'm making sandwiches. That antibacterial soap is getting all over people's food, and then they're eating it. And imagine what that's doing to people's gut. Absolutely shocking. So, you know, if you're going out to any of these places where people are eating and they're just putting this stuff all over their hands, have them wash it off. It's quite disgusting. So anyway, could lead to problems such as infertility, artificially advanced early puberty, obesity, and potentially even cancer. There needs to be more research on it. It says that there's evidence that children with prolonged exposure to triclosan have a higher chance of developing allergies. Did you get that? So, you know, parents and schools and all these places where you go where they have this antibacterial soap, obviously they're going to have prolonged exposure because they're going to be putting it on everywhere. And what if, according to this, that's a major factor in developing allergies? You know, I don't want my kids to have allergies to different things, so therefore I'm not going to get them around anything that could potentially cause that. Another study has shown that triclosan interfered with muscle contractions in humans as well as muscle activity in live mice and minnows. This is especially concerning given other findings that chemicals can penetrate the skin, enter the bloodstream more easily than originally thought. 2008 survey, for instance, found triclosan in the urine of 75% of people tested. That's back in 2008. And the reality is, soap does just as good a job, but it doesn't cause all these other problems. And soap is actually cheaper. They actually charge more money for antibiotic materials. So just get back to soap. Literally, my dad says, don't even throw the stuff away. Get it out of your house. My dad says that those chemicals actually sublimate into the air, and you're actually breathing antibiotic chemicals when you have these antibiotic soaps in your house. So just get them out, get rid of them, and maybe, you know, print something out and educate your school, educate the people around you, or at least say, look, my son or my daughter or my kids are allergic to antibacterial, which is true because they can develop allergies by using it. So tell these people, hey, my kids are allergic to that. Here, can you please just use this soap for my children at least? And then maybe give them some information. And I would find that usually teachers and people do want to be educated. They'll look into it and hopefully stop using it and get it out of the schools. Another major thing that men and women are using, but especially women, is antiperspirant deodorants. And here's just a few items. Antiperspirant deodorants are classified as a drug in the U.S. by the FDA. Are you kidding me? Antiperspirant is listed as a drug? Well, I don't think you should be putting drugs underneath your arms every day, especially if you want to avoid breast cancer. The modern formulation of antiperspirant was patented in 1941. Contains DDT, or when it contained DDT, lindane, ketone have all been banned as a result to the negative health effects, but they're still using aluminum. It's present in antiperspirants in the form of aluminum chlorohydrate. It's designed specifically to clog all of your pores. Aluminum is a metal that has been linked to breast cancer and Alzheimer's disease. Okay, and you're putting this stuff close to your breast. Many deodorants also contain other carcinogenic ingredients, parabens, triclosan, again, which is the antibacterial, butylated hydroxytoluene, when you see all these big names on these products, you should really look into what they are before just putting them on your body. 99% of tested breast cancer tissue samples contained parabens. Interesting. So, all these parabens in the form of different products that we're putting on our body, it's shocking. So these are the things to look out for. Aluminum, zirconium, chlorohydrate. There's different names for antiperspirant. 19%. According to authors of these studies, most breast cancer is developed in the upper and outer part of the breast, the closest to the armpit, which is where antiperspirants are applied. The study suggests that chemicals and antiperspirants, including aluminum, are absorbed into the skin, particularly when the skin is nicked during shaving. These studies claim that those chemicals may then interact with DNA and lead to cancerous changes in the cells. So it's a known carcinogen. Or interfere with the action of the female hormone estrogen, which is a main factor in the growth of breast cancer. So things to be aware of. Ladies also typically wear an underwire bra that pinches the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is our way of taking out the trash, getting rid of toxins. And if we're pinching that system with underwire bras and adding all these carcinogenic chemicals under our arms every day, it's just obvious why so many women are developing breast cancer. And maybe it's not genetic. And if you go to the American Cancer Society's website, cancer.org, and you look up what it has to say about genetics, it says that most cancers are not linked to the genes that we inherit from our parents. But they do run in some families. And why do they run in families? Because those same families are probably all doing the same thing. They're all wearing antiperspirants. They're all using certain types of chemical-based shampoos and soaps and these sorts of things. And they're all eating the same crappy diet. You can change this. So not only do we need to be aware of what we're eating, but we need to be highly aware of what we're putting on our bodies and even in our mouth. A small tube of toothpaste can kill a small child. There's a warning on the back of every fluoride-containing toothpaste. In the United States, it says keep out of the reach of children under the age of 6. If more than used for brushing is accidentally swallowed, get medical help or contact a poison control center right away. Here's a hot tip. If it says contact poison control, don't put it in your mouth. Plain and simple. Crazy stuff. This is Dr. Dean Burke. You can look into him. Obviously, they've done everything they can to discredit him, but he worked for 34 years at the National Cancer Institute. So I would say he probably knows a little bit about cancer. And he says, in point of fact, fluoride causes more human cancer death and causes it faster than any other chemical. Well, you look around and 1 out of 2 people will develop cancer in their lifetime, according to Australian Health and Institute's website. 1 in 2 to 1 in 3 will develop cancer, according to the American Cancer Society. And one thing that you'll find in all these Western countries where cancer is most prevalent are 2 factors. People eating a lot more processed and dead foods, and they're putting fluoride into the water. And it's like, if we need fluoride for our teeth, why not just put it in toothpaste and stop poisoning everybody's water? The reality is for me, there's a huge lack in magnesium. There's a huge lack in vitamin D. Why aren't they putting that in the water? Seriously, you got to put this in everybody's water. I think there's more to it than that, but I'm going to leave it at that without getting too much into conspiracy facts. So looking at shampoos and conditioners and body washes and perfumes and all these sorts of things, here's just some of the chemicals that you can find in shampoo and some of these other items that people are putting on their bodies every day. And these are the things we mainly want to avoid. Parabens are well known to be hormone disruptors. And again, if you're messing with your hormones and throwing estrogen and all these different things off, it increases the risk of breast cancer and infertility and all these other things. Phthalates, mimic the body's hormones. Laboratory animal tests have been shown to cause reproductive and neurological damage. What if motor neurons disease, Parkinson's disease, and all these others related to neurological function is coming from some of these personal care items as well? And people are putting this on their head every day, and these chemicals are soaking through the skin, potentially into the brain. And look, washing your hair once is not going to kill you, but using this stuff time and time again over the years, I believe, is leading to a massive amount of carcinogenic and chemical buildup within our tissues. Some of these things I can't even pronounce, but you'll see all of these. If you just start to look at ingredients, take a photo of this, start to look at ingredients, you'll see this stuff in so many different things. This one leads to stomach, esophagus, liver, and bladder cancer, called DEA. Not even going to try to pronounce it. Petrolatum is in just about every deodorant. This is also in your sunscreen. There's a lot of these chemicals in sunscreens as well. I highly recommend using coconut oil or other natural oils that have a high SPF quality but still nourish the skin. Okay? Petrolatum could slow cellular development, creating early signs of aging. I don't think anybody wants to look older any faster. Disrupts hormone activity. Sodium lauryl sulfate. Okay, propylene glycol. That's the same ingredient in antifreeze. It's also linked to kidney and liver disease. If you go into an auto shop, antifreeze is pure propylene glycol, and engine degreaser is pure sodium lauryl sulfate. And those are the two top ingredients you find in deodorant and shampoo. It's crazy. Acrylamide can be found in face creams. Acrylamide is an industrial chemical known to increase infertility and neurological problems. Acrylamide was actually given to an entire generation of women as a drug to combat morning sickness. It was called the acrylamide generation. There's an actual documentary movie made about it, where all of these women, back in the years where they were prescribing acrylamide, started having babies with 3 arms, short legs, deformed bodies, weird faces, ears and eyes in different places. Like, you should watch this documentary. It's absolutely shocking. And these people are Nazis. That's what most people don't understand, is that IG Farben, World War II, IG Farben was essentially poisoning massive amounts of people in concentration camps to learn what different chemicals and how they would affect the body. This whole thing about Hitler and the Jews, there was a lot more going on than what you're being told. And IG Farben never died and went away. We went and fought this war, and supposedly ended the atrocity. And then IG Farben moved to the United States and opened their pharmaceutical house called Bayer Pharmaceuticals. And all these pharmaceutical houses originated in Nazi Germany, and they were, originated in testing chemicals for all kinds of different purposes. And a lot of these chemicals, a lot of these things are still being used in your everyday pharmaceutical drugs. And, every couple of years, there's a pharmaceutical drug that, they come out and they say, oh, whoops, this one killed 100,000 people. We need to pull it off the market. And they pull it off the market, and then they just change it, and it becomes a lip cream or a, anti-steroidal cream for other things. They never actually get rid of it. They just change it and repurpose it and bring it out as a new drug or cream or something different. So here's just some of the ingredients: the formaldehyde, heavy metals. There's a number, of ingredients inside of lipstick, all kinds of different things known to cause problems. So with that being said, what is the alternative? There are plenty of really good health food stores that you can go to that actually supply toothpaste, shampoo, conditioner, body scrubs. Essential oils should be used for perfumes and, perfuming the body. That's what was used for thousands and thousands of years by Egyptians, by the Greeks, by, all different cultures for thousands of years. They used the essential oils of plants, and they smell beautiful. When a woman walks by me with perfume, it makes me sick. I can actually just smell the chemical crap that's in there. It makes me sick. And you know what? A lot of you might be attracted to that But over time of stopping using these chemical fragrances and moving to essential oils, everything changes. We start to actually notice the difference in these things. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share today. I appreciate you guys being on here. And now I just basically want to open this up to any questions people may have. So if you want to ask any questions, I would love to answer those for you. Just one question. I'm sneakily watching this at work. Will this be shared later as I will have to pop in and out? Yes, I will be downloading this, uploading it to YouTube, and putting it on the page. With that being said, I don't have any other questions. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and ask now or forever hold your peace. I did have a question. What's a good way to help my 8-year-old son to help stop the itching that accompanies his eczema? Well, instead of trying to stop the itching, I would focus on how to eliminate the eczema. And the best way to eliminate eczema is to eliminate the toxicity that's causing it internally. And, we have hundreds of people that have gone through my online juice fast that have come to my programs that have eliminated eczema completely. So number one is to look for what are the toxicities that could potentially be causing this. Potential toxicities that were received in the process of vaccination, potential toxicities in laundry detergents, glues and different things in the baby's crib or our kids' rooms, the paint, new couches, all kinds of different things that could be contributing to toxicity. What is my 8-year-old son eating? And looking at avoiding artificial colors, artificial sweeteners, which are really big today in pretty much every type of lollies that kids are given, little candies, drinks, all kinds of different things. So it's avoiding the chemicals that we're taking into the environment and then adding things that clean the environment like plants. So I'd be putting the Areca palm plant, peace lilies, and things like mother-in-law's tongue because that extracts all the chemicals and adds fresh and clean oxygen. I would put 3 or 4 plants in your kid's room. I would put plants all over the house to eliminate these toxins. I would have your couches and your kid's bed and stuff cleaned potentially with non-carcinogenic chemicals. Have them actually cleaned with just hot water and soap, which you can have somebody come and do. And then I would look at the laundry detergent being used. And then I would looking at adding nutrition into the diet, which is in the form of juice. Get them really interested in drinking Kabbalah juice. Get your son making Kabbalah juice with you every day. And that's carrot, apple, beet, and lemon. Go buy some organic beets and apples and lemons or wash these things in apple cider vinegar. 1 cup of apple cider vinegar for a whole basin, kitchen sink essentially of water, and you can wash all these chemicals off. But then juicing every day, a good sized glass of Kabbalah juice can do wonders. And I've had plenty of people do 21 days on Kabbalah juice and completely eliminate eczema. We have natural skin products you can put on the skin. Use aloe vera. You can also use bentonite clay, make it into a paste, put it on the skin and allow it to dry, and that pulls toxins out of the body. The skin is basically a place where we can eliminate toxins, and even a small amount of toxicity will continually clean out through the skin. So adding in fresh squeezed juices, adding in fresh fruit, getting your child out in the sun and eliminating the forms of toxicity that you can is going to be, the best way to move forward. And I believe the bentonite clay may actually really soothe the itching as well. Simone asked, did your wife go back to have tests to see if the cancer was gone? No, she didn't. And, that's a good question. And I don't think people should. Because in the process of testing, we're typically scraping, we're injecting, we're doing all kinds of things that could potentially cause cancer. And when I say that, it's like, we have this mammograms. Women go in, they pinch their breast really hard, and then they give it a focused dose of radiation to see if there's a lump. Well, if they don't find a lump, you will eventually if you keep doing that. And the fact is, since the time of introducing mammograms, mortality rate has not changed. In fact, it's increased. Mammograms have never prevented death in women with breast cancer. So why the hell are we even using it? It's never prevented it. It's never changed any statistics in anything. So in my opinion, just getting tested is not the way to go. In fact, when you have an MRI, they inject you with contrast gels that are radioactive that cause your cells to pop so they can see them nice and clearly on the screen. CT scans, CAT scans, all these types of things are focused doses of radiation known to, cause cancer. Go to the American Cancer Society's website and just start looking at a lot of these things, and you'll find the very thing they're looking to prevent or looking to catch early, they're actually causing. They're actually making the situation worse. So what I say is, instead of focusing on seeing whether you've healed yourself or not, just focus on healing yourself. Period. That's it. And if you focus on healing yourself and you know you can do it and your mindset's in the right place, I believe you're going to be a lot better off. And look, if you get to a point of, people haven't paid attention, it's an emergency, then by all means, if you have to go to a hospital, do it. But if it's not an emergency, and in fact, if you know what you need to do through fasting and eating the right types of foods and having the right type of lifestyle to prevent and even put cancer into remission, do it. And there's doctors like Dr. Dean Ornish, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. There's many doctors now that are actually writing books and getting their clients and their patients onto a specific lifestyle when they're diagnosed with cancer, and it's actually working. You can look up a book called The Cancer Survival Guide, and it's a free PDF download by the head of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine in the United States, and he's recommending people actually eating a healthy diet and doing very specific things when diagnosed with cancer. So thanks for asking the question. Can I recommend certain shampoos? Well, I live in Bali, so the shampoo brands here are probably different than where you're living. I use a local brand of shampoos, and we're actually making shampoos right now. So we have a variety of about 3 different kinds of shampoo and conditioner in our shower, and they're all natural. But I would recommend just finding a few different ones finding out what works for you. And the reality is, you might want to try it. Just pure bicarbonate of soda is one of the best shampoos you can use. You get pure bicarbonate of soda, get a small amount of that powder, and just scrub it through your hair, all of your hair, rinse it out. Do that 3 times, and then rinse all that out. And then you could apply a little bit of coconut oil or some type of conditioner if you like. And a lot of people find that works amazingly, and you only need to wash your hair every 2 to 3 days doing that. So give that a crack. Kidney stones. Is lemon good to drink? What causes these little terrors? Kidney stones, in my opinion, are caused from phosphoric acid and soda pop. They're caused from eating or drinking, dairy milk, which is high in calcium in a form that's not as assimilable for our body, especially when it's been pasteurized. I also believe it's from eating dead animals. So the best way to eliminate kidney stones, yes, lemon's really good, but it's actually the malic acid in apple juice that can be very beneficial, and even like a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar put into maybe some apple juice or even into some water. The malic acid can start to break down kidney and gallstones and things of that nature over time and distance, but you've got to cut out soda pop, you've got to cut out animal-based foods, at least for 60 to 90 days through this process. My father also has a very specific kidney cleanse that you can look into as well. That involves sauerkraut juice, 50%, tomato juice, 50%, and 16 drops of peppermint oil. And you mix all of that together into about 1 liter, and you drink it at night just before bed after you've gone through a little bit of cleansing. I recommend doing the apple juice and the apple cider vinegar for 1 to 2 weeks before doing that, and you could potentially clear those stones out. Do you believe that using a crystal is a good alternative to personal deodorants? I don't think so. I know it's supposedly a good alternative, but you still read it and it says, aluminum something, and it's just like, really? So, it's very questionable for me. I would recommend just using essential oils. If you like lavender essential oil, or if you like patchouli, or if you like jasmine, my wife uses jasmine essential oil. And the reality is, once you eat a clean lifestyle, eat good foods, and exercise, and maybe after a 7-day juice fast, you won't stink. I can go for a run, I can exercise, I can do jujitsu, and when I sweat, it doesn't stink. And I haven't used deodorant since I was 16 years old. So those are the facts. If you stink, it's because your body's toxic. So change your diet, modify your lifestyle, and in the meantime, maybe just use some essential oils. If you really wanted to make a deodorant, you can get 50% coconut oil and 50% cacao butter. You can melt it in a pan and take, your little deodorant stick, wind it up, throw that crap away, wash it out, wind it back down, and then pour the melted oil from coconut and cacao butter into that container and stick it in the freezer. And then get it out 8 hours later, and you'll have your own little stick made out of coconut oil and cacao butter, and you'll smell like chocolate when you sweat. If you want to add peppermint or other essential oils to it, you could do that as well, and it'll put off a good essential oil smell. Where do you get bio soap from? From a health food store or online somewhere. You can look up bio soap laundry detergent online, but they also sell it like Flannery's on the Gold Coast, and they sell it at different health food stores in different places. And other places around the world might call them something different. So just look for a natural alternative. Can I touch on food coloring? Well, food coloring, there's one called FD&C Blue Number 1, which is made from coal tar, which is known to cause leukemia and other forms of cancer. And please look this up. Don't just take my word for it. Look up FD&C Blue Number 1, cause cancer, ? Read through some links. You'll find out it's called from coal tar. USA Today actually did a whole article just about this. And other food colorings come from different things. Some of them come from bugs. Some of them come from coal tar. Some of them come from all kinds of different forms of things. So really look into it. The Children's Hyperactivity Group recommends to avoid all food colorings. And, just in general for cancer, it's not a good thing. I've been drinking lots of dandelion root tea and lemon for about a month. Then I got kidney stones. Well, just so you know, kidney stones take years and years and years to form. So, you didn't just get kidney stones from drinking dandelion tea and lemon for a month or two. It might, be a coincidence that they showed up during that time, or potentially as your body started to clean them out, maybe you started feeling it and you went and got tested and found the kidney stones. But lemon juice is not going to cause kidney stones. Otherwise, my kidneys would be full of freaking kidney stones. What qualities should we look for in essential oils? I'd recommend getting therapeutic grade essential oils. There's a few companies, one called doTERRA, one called Young Living. My dad also sells essential oils that are very high quality on his website, dontolman.com. I'm sure eventually we'll have some as well. But yeah, I bought the entire kit of doTERRA and the entire kit from Young Living, and I use essential oils for all kinds of things. Frankincense essential oil is known to target and actually start to break down and destroy cancer. There's even PubMed studies that talk about it. Look into it. It's pretty interesting. I use lavender. Lavender improves oxygen to the brain. It also lowers blood pressure. It's really good for the skin. Eucalyptus relaxes your muscles. So I take hot baths occasionally and put eucalyptus or lavender depending on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll take a hot bath with frankincense and myrrh, which are beautiful, amazing things. All kinds of beautiful essential oils. There's one called Helichrysum, which is probably one of the most beautiful healing essential oils on the planet, which you can use in skin conditions, eczema, psoriasis, all these different types of things. I highly recommend looking into it. It's very expensive, just so you know. But I personally have all of these things. Could you please do a webinar on how to prep yourself for your first fast, please? Yeah, that's a really good idea. Nick, if you're listening to this webinar as well, let's plan a webinar where we do how to prepare properly for a fast, and then some of the qualities of a fast and how to break a fast properly. Really good idea. Thanks for sharing, Amanda. Do you know any negative side effects to using magnesium oil spray daily? No, I don't. And I think that with some things, you just want to look in and make sure it doesn't have other ingredients. If you want magnesium, you could just put Epsom salts into your bath. Epsom salt's like pure magnesium. So Epsom salts are really cheap. It's nice to take a really hot bath occasionally. I do about once or twice a week. I use Epsom salts, I use Himalayan salts, and I put about a cup of each. And then I put essential oils, and it's just the most amazing experience ever. Getting out of that bath and going straight to bed, you just have the best sleep ever. It relaxes all your muscles. It's awesome. Become a coconut oil nut. Awesome. What alternatives are there to underwire bras? There's a few companies now that actually make bras without the underwire. So it's just a matter of Google. Google's your best friend. Amazing bras without the underwire, and look through a couple of different companies and find one that will work for you. Do you recommend putting fluoride filters on showers as well as drinking water taps? It would be best. I live in Bali, so we have a deep well, and I shower in pure water. And we have a really good, system. I have a water distiller. Distills about 50 liters of water a day. And we also get spring water from a local spring. So I recommend drinking clean water without fluoride or chlorine. I recommend not showering in either one of those. But I think first and foremost, we need to really at least focus on not drinking it. So, on your skin, quick shower occasionally, obviously your body's not going to absorb the same amount as if you're actually drinking it. And you got to understand it is a very small amount of fluoride, parts per million. But when we're drinking it, that accumulates a lot quicker. So use your own discretion. Focus on drinking water first. And then if you can get a shower filter, fantastic. And really the best thing to do is if you own your own home is to put in like a reverse osmosis system that goes into all the water into the entire house. Then every form of water you're using is absolutely clean. That's the best way to go. Yeah. I work in an office. When I use the restroom, I use the dispenser, and it just dawned on me that I got bumps on my fingers and things have returned. So yeah, you probably just want to avoid. Personally, when I'm out and about, I just wash my hands with water. I don't use the soaps. I think water is a universal solvent. It cleans things. It's fantastic. Do you know any possible dangers of potassium sorbates? I would recommend, again, Google. I do have some of these items listed, and I do presentations about potassium benzoates, sorbates, and things. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head with that one specifically, potassium sorbate. It does sound like one of the preservatives that I talk about that leads to issues. But essentially just go onto Google and really look for it and do a little research from multiple sites and see what you can find. And with that, I don't want to keep you guys too long. So thank you for being on here. Thank you for taking your time. I'm going to end this webinar. I do have a Heal Thyself at Home program that I'd love for each and every one of you to be on. I do specific Q&A and coaching webinars every 2 weeks. There's an entire Heal Thyself at Home group of people where I answer every question that comes in, and people are really, sharing information. The Heal Thyself at Home program, once you're a part of it, you have access for life. And it's really, it's like basically nutritionist certification, learning all about all of these different areas. And so that you can keep your own lives clean, you can protect your families, you can obviously know what is good for you nutritionally, and learn how to question everything. So the Heal Thyself at Home is a fantastic program. I recommend checking it out. There's 2 versions of it. One version is by itself. It's $599 US. And like I said, you'll have that forever. It used to be $2,500. You know, we sold it for a very long time for $2,500, and it's worth every penny and more. I've had plenty of people tell me I'm so happy I spent that money, and they've reversed all types of conditions, and now it's only $5.99. So there's really no excuse not to get on it and become a part of this self-care revolution and start sharing this information and educating yourselves, because it really is the most important thing we can do in these days, is become educated so that we can live long, healthy, and happy lives. With that being said, now I'm going to give one of the Heal Thyself homes away. And what I'm going to do today is, if you can answer the question, the first person to answer this question on the questions area. So on the questions area, if you can type in the answer to this question, you're going to win the Heal Thyself at Home. So here's what it is. The question is, what was the one thing that I talked about that actually causes allergies in children on this webinar? What's the one thing I talked about that causes allergies in children? I've got sodium lauryl sulfate, laundry detergent, antibacterial. Yay, you got it. It was the antibacterial, actually, that I talked about that can potentially cause and exacerbate allergies in children. And that was Bridget Harris. Thank you, Bridget. You nailed that one. You've just won yourself the Heal Thyself at Home program worth $600 US. Thank you, everyone else, for being on here and participating. Every week I'm going to be giving away something different. So stay tuned in. Love you guys. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. This is Tyler Tolman, signing off.